Yes, people. Welcome back to another episode of Operation Gunners, Season 2, Episode 6 on AFC Talk Show TV. Hopefully, I will be joined by Manny sooner later on in this stream. Obviously, it is a bit of a early one for us. We were meant to start at 7:30, but due to the internet connections here, England's going through a bit of a bipolar weather. Let's just say that. Let's put it that way. So I don't know whether my internet's going to be good when the rain starts, etc., etc. My laptop's not working at the moment because of the weather. So I'm using my phone. So hopefully my 5G will get me through this. But yeah, you've seen the little bar there, the title here. Everton versus Arsenal review, 1-0 to the Arsenal. What? Wow, man, it was a good game. I think we had control over the game, and I'm really, really proud of the boys. They stuck in. A lot of people were saying about Mikel's change in goal, but I, for one, am here for the competition, man. I want to see competition in my front line everywhere. I want to see competition in goalkeeper. I want to see competition in defence. I want to see competition in midfield. I want to see competition in strikers. You know, like that is certainly what I want, and hopefully that's what we'll get now. Hopefully Ramsdale will look at this and not think, "Oh, I'm out of the team," because you're not. It's called just waiting. You know, we need these two positions like concrete, because last season, I don't know about you guys, but I personally thought Ramsdale was top class last season, but if he got injured or if he fell off, we never had that someone to push him. It was like he was too comfortable. And my opinion is you need two players in each position that are going to make each other fight for their position. And definitely with Raya and Ramsdale there, I think that it's absolutely fantastic. And I do think that we will go far in competitions because we've got these two goalkeepers. Apart from that, David Raya, absolutely fantastic display. Let's get right off to that pretty much. David Raya, what a bloody goalkeeper, man. What a goalkeeper. He come out, from what I saw, he was comfortable. He demanded his box. It seemed like he played there longer than that was his debut, you know. And that is the way I want to see my goalkeeper play. You know, I want to see him play out from the back play. I want to see him confident. Not once did I think that David Raya was gonna. Not once was I not confident when he was on the ball. You know, I get nervy sometimes. No disrespect to Ramsdale, I do get nervy when I see him on the ball when he does look uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that sort of goalkeeper to play it out from the back. When my team start playing it out from the back, I'm screaming, I want that long. I want that. Get out away from my goal, you know. But in the Premier League, modern game, you have to be able to play it out from your back. And Raya looked confident. He looked really, really good. And quite honestly, I'm very happy with that debut, man. I'm very, very happy with that debut. And that's the thing with him. I want to see this competition. I want to see this. And I'm really, really desperate to see more from him, because I want to make sure. I do think we'll move on to the PSV game soon, but I do believe that Aaron Ramsdale should start midweek. I do think that. I do believe that, because he should be in that. He got us to the Champions League last season, and I do believe that he should be in that. He should be starting that Champions League game tomorrow. But with the Everton game, I have to say, he come out, he demanded his box. No, he wasn't too busy. We had control the whole 90 minutes. In my perspective, I think we had control the whole 90 minutes. There wasn't one moment in that game where I thought, well, we're going to end up losing this, you know? And let's talk about this Martinelli goal, right? First of all, the rule's the rule. Fair enough. Cool. Let's get out of it, you know? Yeah, the rule is the rule. It was offside in the eye of the law. But, I think that's very harsh. I really do. I don't agree with it personally, but that is the rules, and that's the way it has to go. But overall for Arsenal, it was a very good game. I think a 1-0 done us a little bit too much, not injustice, but it wasn't. It didn't. It looked great. Still, we got the win, and it was very, very good. I am going to introduce my guest. You guys know it already. How do I try and get him? I'm trying to get him in, but I don't know how. Actually, it's because I'm on my phone. You see, this is the only problem with it. I'm on my phone trying to find it, trying to add people to the stream, but I can't seem to. It takes time, MK. It does. It does take time. There we go. See, on my phone, it's a totally different thing, bro. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Listen, I'm sorry I'm late. I actually had gone to the bathroom, and I just saw that you were starting almost immediately. So I think I might have missed quite a bit of what you were saying. So I do apologise for that.
No. It's all great, mate. We started early. I don't know. Because of my internet, it's really bad at the moment. UK weather is up and down. It's like we got bipolar in the UK weather-wise. Honestly, it's dramatically stormy here. So I thought I better start now, or my phone's gonna lose total signal as well, like my laptop. My laptop's absolutely screwed. But I was just saying that no matter, I think Ramsdale, obviously, it looked like more or less he did get dropped in that Everton game. I don't see it as personally him getting dropped. I think Mikel wants that two position players. That's what I was saying before. Every position that Mikel wants, two players per each position. That's what I'm thinking. With goalkeepers, I know it's a little bit different, but I was also saying last season I didn't feel so confident if Ramsdale got injured or fell out of form. We had Matt Turner, he's a good keeper, but he's not the one that we really needed, if you know what I mean. I think with David Raya, there's that competition for Ramsdale now, which is good.
Well, here's the thing, though. I still believe, MK, that a large number of people have been very quick to dismiss Turner because let's bear in mind, although he didn't make a single league appearance for us, he did play, of course, in our Europa League games, and in our first four, he actually distinguished himself, in my opinion. One of the biggest issues that I had with Ramsdale, and I think I might have mentioned this in earlier streams on this channel, is that he has a tendency to not really be dominating when it comes to crosses. He punches them, he can't catch them cleanly. But with Turner, he was able to catch all crosses very cleanly indeed. And he certainly didn't, put a foot wrong. I think the decision to replace him with Ramsdale for the second leg against Sporting Lisbon was exceptionally harsh because, as it turned out, Ramsdale did not do any better.
Yeah.
And what really hurt was that even in the moments when Ramsdale's muck-ups cost us points, there was never any thought to drop him and bring Matt Turner in, and that sort of attitude from Arteta was probably what cost us our chance of defending our lead and going on to win the title. Because in moments like this, sometimes you've got to make a big call. And he did this in the 2021 season as well. Leno was making some disgusting errors. Almost, what springs to mind was the sending off against Wolverhampton Wanderers, where he stupidly came out of his area and then had to use his arm to deflect the ball away. And then also he ended up, palming an innocuous shot from Richarlison into his own net when Everton played us at the Emirates Stadium. I believe under Carlo Ancelotti, they did the double over us, which was, horrible. And, but even then, Matt Ryan only made 3 league appearances and didn't do it all badly. So, on one hand, I would say credit to Mikel Arteta for at least having the gumption to realise that if you want to have 2 great keepers in every position, you've got to make sure that the second one gets his palms dirty. You can't just say, you're the second keeper, you may or may not get to play, but you're just going to have to work your backside off even harder than the first goalkeeper and depend on him getting an injury in order to get to play. That's life in football. I'm sorry, that doesn't cut any ice. No. And look, here's the thing. Ramsdale has just been rested for tomorrow's game against PSV. Everton was a perfect game to, make some changes. We dropped Kai Havertz from the starting lineup, although of course we had to bring him on for some minutes, of course, because I mean, you have to somehow find a way to justify Spurs splashing out that much dosh on a guy like him, and we showed enough to control the game, but that's only because with their 4-5-1 formation, Everton were never going to really pose too much of an attacking threat necessarily. I would have liked to have seen Dyche decide to go for the jugular and bring on Dominic Calvert-Lewin to partner Beto. But instead, he felt as though he had to give Beto a rest and bring DCL on for a little for a few minutes. Just as he replaced his number 14 with his number 9, we replaced our number 14 with our number 9, and our number 9 looked quite fine. Not necessarily like fine wine, but it's all the same, really. And I want to see him start tomorrow against PSV playing the 4-2-3-1 because we played the 4-2-3-1 at the beginning of last season and were winning games and earning points left, right, and centre because of that 4-2-3-1 formation. Flat back four, 2 defensive midfielders, Saka on the right, Martinelli on the left, Odegaard in the middle, and Jesus up front. Granted, Jesus wasn't exactly prolific, but he was making more contributions to the overall play and really proving that he was definitely an upgrade on Alex Lacazette.
Yeah,
Lacazette, of course, is his real name. So, I mean, this is a point which I've repeated again and again. Whenever we play the 4-3-3 formation, it does look a little bit fluid, I'll grant you that, but it means that Zinchenko has to continue to try and cut in, leaving the defense even more stretched. At least with the 4-2-3-1, in theory, our defense has, our midfield is sort of well covered, both in attack and in the defensive side of things. And I would like to see, I mean, we're probably going to do some possible lineups for Arsenal against PSV later on. But talking about the game, we should have been a little bit more clinical. I thought Martinelli's goal was sumptuous, but it had to be Eddie Nketiah, who's
with that money. I obviously said this before you came on. I said the offside, obviously the rule's the rule, but harsh, but in the rules' eyes, fair play. But I've also seen them be given. And apparently, according to the Sky Sports, bear in mind Gary Neville couldn't believe it, and Gary Neville is not our biggest fan. Let's be real on that. When Gary Neville says something about Arsenal, which is good or positive in our direction, that means it is. Gary Neville ain't the person who gives us credit. But
I get the feeling. I get the feeling that the storm you're experiencing is because of what he said.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. 100%. He's literally being like mental, like. Desert Store, I can literally see trophies. I can see Tottenham Hotspur's trophy cabinet flying open because of the weather right now. Gary Neville has caused an absolute mayhem ahead of North London Derby week, man. But on a real, it is harsh, but yes, it's the fair one. But like I said, I've seen these given where apparently it has to be intentional. Yeah, it wasn't intentional. Yeah, he didn't mean it to bloody hit Nketiah and then make a goal. But you've got to give, in many ways, the attacker some sort of bloody credit. Like, he's got in there. Yeah, he was offside position, but it did come off him. Yeah, he's in that position, but it did deflect. It got them, and then Fabio Vieira played a lovely ball in. Martinelli gets a goal. Offside. Harsh, but fair. It's just one of those things where if we would have been sitting here now and it had been a 0-0 or somehow 1-0 Everton, then it would be affecting us in many ways. Luckily, it didn't actually affect us. But it's one of them things where this rule needs to be sorted out. They need to sort of twix up on this rule, They need to do this because something's not right there. Even when the pundits are saying it's controversial, there's some sort of way that it maybe should have been given.
Yeah, but let's not forget, some pundits aren't necessarily, impartial in their analysis in a way. And Gary Neville is certainly no holy grail when it comes to impartial punditry, it has to be said. Look, I always say that we can go on and on about hard luck stories, and a lot of people still go on and on about how, with the wretched XG stat of us having 3.01 to Fulham's 0.46, we should have deserved to win. But football is a game where, just like life, you take the rough with the smooth. And if people are going to talk about that, then we also have to be honest enough to accept that if Adama Traore had been replaced by a better finisher, we would have been staring down the barrel of a 2-3 home defeat, and we never should have allowed them to get back into the game. So it works both ways, and yes, I'm glad that you agree that according to the letter of the law, it was a fair decision and it had to be given. Yeah. And that is one thing for which I can really, really compliment you, because the majority of Arsenal fans, especially those with their agenda in favour of Arteta, would have been hopping mad at that decision. And
I've had to tell a couple that it was the correct decision. I've had to tell a couple of my younger Arsenal fans. The younger generation is losing their mind, but I've said, look, trust me, I would be on them as well, but trust me, it's a fair decision. It is a fair decision, Gooners. Obviously, it is. But
mate, that is why you need people like us doing on these streams. Course, we're the cooler, wiser heads, as it were. Yeah, I mean, I was gutted though for Martinelli, because the boy has been subject to a lot of harsh criticism when people say, he makes a great deal, many runs down the wing, and certainly has defenses imbalanced, but he still hasn't been able quite to shoot for toffee. So for him to get that goal, I was absolutely buzzing for him, only for Nketiah to, put, to sort of render that worthless. And I was telling myself, Eddie, you absolute bum. Seriously. And then, of course, he went off injured. I believe the news is that he might not be fit to play tomorrow. So we're going to have to talk about the lineup then. But I'm just going to ask you, though. I'm going to ask you, because here's the thing. We criticize Nketiah for, making a lot of runs, doing some really good movement, but not being able to take shots at goal and score as often as we want him to. And yet, are we in danger of, cutting Martinelli some unfair slack because he's been effectively doing the same? You can say that he hasn't had too many opportunities to shoot, and whenever he hasn't been able to make the most of them. But, there is also another thought that maybe if he were actually played as more of a central striker as opposed to being a winger, he would have some more goals against his column, perhaps.
Yeah, I actually do agree with that. I think with Martinelli is that I will give him his credits when credit is due, and I do agree that he hasn't been up to it recently. But yes, if he was played, let's say that he was played in the Eddie Nketiah striker role instead of on the left-hand side, I do think he'll be getting more goals. But where I see him, that finish, I know it was chalked offside, but that finish was like watching Thierry Henry-esque, It was just the way he put his ball through that. Oh, there's something else just watching on that left-hand side, him coming in and just flinging it off. It's just amazing. Quite honestly, I do think he deserves some criticism when he doesn't have his 100% games, but it's sort of like what we say about Saka. Yes, he doesn't have 10 out of 10 games, sometimes, but he has that moment to change the game. I thought Saka was really, really poor against United, but he was decent against Everton. And one thing what made him really decent is he actually beat his man 4 or 5 times, where he actually got the better of the left back of Everton. Excuse me,
Mykolenko.
That's the one, Mykolenko, Ukrainian. And the one thing is that the lot for Man United, he actually got the better of Saka in that game. He actually took him and put him in his pocket until obviously Jesus got him out by swiftly putting him on the ground. But it was one of them things where Saka wasn't outstanding on Sunday, but you saw him being a decent version of himself. You saw that better version as, all right, he's back. He's got his form, maybe. He's getting involved with goals. He got the assist. But with Martinelli, I think that goal really could have pushed his confidence. Obviously, now he's injured. It's devastating, really, because I wanted to see him, Saka, Ramsdale, Saliba, all these players who got us to Champions League last season. I want to see them in the lineup, and I want to see them in there. And it's going to be so gutting for Martinelli, who's not only just like got us into the Champions League, but been working so hard with this club, and we've been through the rubbish, the same with Saka, been through the bottom of the pile, and we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know when Champions League was going to be in our sights again, and all of a sudden to get them to back in it, but then for him to come off for him to come off injured, it's got him, man. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt him. I know that he'll be broken about this, man. Honestly,
I agree completely. And all we can do is hope that it's not so much a hamstring injury, but really more
yeah,
of a quadricep injury, which I think. I mean, I can't necessarily say that it would be for sure because I'm not exactly a qualified medical professional, but a hamstring injury is one of those. The hamstring is one of those thread-like muscles where, you know, it needs to be. That helps do the explosive work. That and the quads as well, but maybe the hamstrings a little bit more so. With the quads, you get a little bit more in terms of muscle mass, and with some rest and, a little bit of isolation, compression, and expansion. They could heal. But I'd like to think that he will get some chances later on in the Champions League campaign, and he should. I agree with you. He should be a part of it, and it's just saddening for him. But hopefully, he can take heart from that goal, and just try and kick on from there once he's fit again, and just remind himself he's got the ability, he's got the talent. Arteta clearly loves him, and we all rate him very highly. In fact, I would say more than Saka. He can be probably our most pivotal player. So all he needs to do is just relax and be more confident.
This may be controversial, maybe not. Who knows? But I would only have right now Martinelli wearing my number 14 shirt. Let's be real on this. I would only have Martinelli. In the future, maybe not right now because Eddie's got it and all that, but in the future, he's the only person who I'd be like, you know what?
Eddie should never have been given that shirt. That should have gone to Gabriel Martinelli.
No way, man. It should have been Gabriel Martinelli, bro. 100%.
Of course, son. Of course. And you said it. That finish against Everton, which was chalked up, was Henry-esque, you said. So
Thierry Henry-esque. And I'm watching him thinking, bro, this is literally Thierry Henry. Don't get me wrong. I didn't grow up watching Thierry Henry's like prime, the one where I really got to see it was when he come back to the Emirates for their FA Cup game in 2011-12, and he scored it against Leeds, and it was literally a Thierry Henry finish. That is what I saw with Martinelli, bro. But look, we're going to move on from Everton. Everton 0, obviously Arsenal 1. Good 3 points. We continue, we move, and now we move on to the next game. Obviously, we do one game at a time here. We're not getting cocky. We're not moving straight away. We're going on to the next game. Obviously, there will be, for ones who are wondering, there will be a North London derby review later in the week where we are going to get the likes of Deji, the guy who makes TikToks called Connor, Tottenham Hotspur fan. Absolutely love what he does on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. Mostly enjoyed it when Tottenham were in the mud, but obviously I still watch videos of his and have a good laugh because he does do a good one. But this is the moment that we've been waiting for, Manny. And if I was on my laptop, I would be playing the UEFA Champions League music right now. But I'm on my phone, so I can't.
No, but listen, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you're not playing it because if that's copyrighted, you could have this taken down.
True that as well, actually. But Arsenal versus PSV.
Oh yeah, before that, full time at the San Siro, a goalless draw between Milan and Newcastle. A lot of us were predicting Newcastle would struggle, but I'll tell you what, they held firm and they had a few chances of their own. So this is going to be interesting.
I only watched probably about the first 40 minutes of it. And to be honest, Newcastle held their own. I know that Milan missed a few decent opportunities, but Newcastle, man, I think this is controversial opinion as well. Newcastle to get through to the round of 16. Come on. Listen.
Don't jump the gun, son. Don't jump the gun. I mean, there's still some way to go. They made a very controversial decision to exclude Martin Dubravka from their squad and bring Karius and another backup keeper in. I think if I were Dubravka, I'd say, you know what, not worth it. Why am I not going to be a part of this campaign? I'm going to force a move away in January. How dare you humiliate me like this? But I think it's fair to say that some of those players felt overawed by the occasion in a way. Murphy in particular was given a really hard time in attack. I believe it was Theo Hernandez and one or two others who were literally, just ripping him to ribbons. But I mean, that's what you get when you face a team with players of that experience. And don't forget, Hernandez is of course a full French international. and World Cup up twice. So it is what it is. I only hope that our boys who are coming back for the first time don't get overawed by the occasion. Against PSV, we shouldn't get too overawed, especially since they're going to be slightly weaker with Ibrahim Sangare having
Yeah.
made the decision to come to slum it in the Premier League with Nottingham Forest. Why would you leave a Champions League club to come and play in the Premiership for a club that might be fighting a relegation battle? All about the dosh?
Yeah, it's got to be about the money. Nottingham Forest, we know that they've got a nice owner in charge, they've got a bit of money ahead. We saw that with the 30-odd players they bought last season. It's like Chelsea relegation battle club, you know what I mean? It's literally like Chelsea reserves, bloody the way they're functioning right now. They're lucky to escape relegation last season. Let's be real on that. They were very, very lucky. This season, I'm horrible to say, Turner, I love you, man. You're a great goalkeeper. Pause on that. But, bro, I do think they're going to get relegated, man. I do think that. But it's one of them situations, the same as Chelsea. Can money buy you trouble, buy you success? And maybe before this Boe brought Chelsea in charge, maybe before his time, yeah, possibly. But at this right moment, I can't see it with him. I can't see it with Forest. I can't see it with Chelsea at this moment. But we'll see. Come May, we'll see where they're at. But Arsenal versus PSV, I'm going to come straight to you, Manny. What are first of all, your thoughts on this? Then I'll get your lineup. So what is your thought? Being back in the Champions League, first of all.
It is, going to be wonderful, but we really need to sort of temper our expectations. Having said that, the fact that we ended up getting PSV and Sevilla as our main opposition, with Lens to also play a supporting role. No disrespect to Lens. I mean, I probably don't know too much about them, but I can't see them necessarily causing us too many problems. Sevilla, of course, slightly weakened as well because they've seen Gonzalo Montiel join Sangare at Nottingham Forest. I mean, just think of it. These two guys could have been playing us in the Champions League group stages, but now they're slumming it over in Nottingham at the City Ground. Go figure. And Sevilla, of course, are the defending Europa League champions, but they've started La Liga quite badly, and they've also lost, in addition to Montiel, they've also lost their goalkeeper, Yassine Bouno, who's gone all the way to Saudi to, rake in the Reals. Why he'd want to do that, I don't know. You think that he'd be willing to, test his mettle in the Champions League once again and try and prove himself. But, it is what it is. And this Sevilla team, even with Sergio Ramos coming back in the sensational return to his boyhood club, I really don't know if at his age he will offer very much to the team. But maybe his presence can galvanize the squad. I don't know. And look, as long as they've got Jesus Navas and Ocampos and other players, including the Tottenham reject Eric Lamela and a few others, I think they should be okay. But we really need to make sure that we up our game as well, because the expectations are from many fans that we will not only qualify from this group, but do so in style. But let's bear in mind, we also played PSV last season in the Europa League. We beat them well enough at the Emirates, but we lost on their home ground. And Ramsdale actually replaced Turner for that game in Eindhoven, so make of that what you will. So obviously, PSV are going to try and look to play the same 4-2-3-1 formation that I would prefer to see us play. I don't necessarily know if our 4-3-3 formation would, work. And if Arteta has any sense, he wouldn't start Eddie Nketiah in a game like this. It's time to bring back some of the experience that you would need, which is why I also would think that the 4-2-3-1 is a lot better. And when you take a look at the criticism that Arteta's receiving for some of the things he's said, I'm reminded, of course, with another Nottingham Forest connection, of the words of the late and great Brian Clough. Football is a simple game, but it's prone to overcomplication by people who don't know much about it, really. And in all this stuff about how, you want to see football evolving with inverted fullbacks, inverted midfielders, maybe substituting goalkeepers before the end of a game and all that nonsense. If you keep it simple and you are smart enough to try to counter those tactics the way Unai Emery can do with Aston Villa, he normally plays the 4-4-2, but he can tweak it a bit to play a 3-4-2-1 to make sure that his wing backs, Cash and Digne or Moreno, can, move forward well and also play the role of auxiliary midfielders and defenders at the same time. But back to Arteta. The 4-2-3-1 formation, as I told you, MK, it worked beautifully for us. We were solid in defence with a flat back four. We had two very good defensive midfielders in Partey and I think Xhaka was playing that role at the time. And so we also had Martinelli, Saka, and I think Odegaard in the number 10 role and Jesus up front. And that is what I would like to see happen. The only question is, I remember saying in another show with a friend of mine, shout out to Danny AFC TV, I will be doing a watch along with him tomorrow, by the way, that I would like to see the same back four that played against Everton because they never really put too much of a foot wrong. And yet Ben White can be prone to moments of poor concentration as well, even in his preferred right back position. So I wouldn't start Kivio at left back, far from it. No. I think Zinchenko has shown some signs that he is capable of, playing of being a sensible, defender, as it were. And so I would have him at left back with, if not Benny Blanco, as he's often called, bring Tomiyasu in, because if he's a right-footed guy, you have him at right back. It's as simple as that. Jurrien Timber won't be in action for us for the next few months. I know that he's recovered from surgery and is feeling a little bit better, but he still has to go through a lot of physical tests to see that he can play. So it will have to be Tomiyasu.
Late January for Timber, I reckon. Late January, I reckon, for Timber.
Yeah, that's right. So it would make a lot more sense, therefore, to play Tomiyasu, because, again, it would be either him or Cedric Suarez. Pick your poison. And so same central defensive partnership of Gabriel and Saliba. No need to change it. Maybe if you want to bring on Jakub Kiwior to replace either one of them, be my guest. And the two defensive midfielders should be Declan Rice and Jorge Frello. I think Declan Rice has certainly slowly but surely, blooded himself well in. And I'm not saying this simply because he scored the primary winner against Manchester United. I think he's definitely not a very, physically imposing sort of bloke, but the way he's kept everything ticking, he certainly, compliments Thomas Partey in that way. Now, Partey being injured means that Jorginho would come in, because if you want to play those two defensive midfielders, Jorginho would be your guy. And he obviously was teammates with Kai Havertz when they won the Champions League under Thomas Tuchel. Hasn't really had too many minutes this season, but you get the feeling that we bought him for these big games.
Yeah.
And that's at least partially why we opted to, we ended up signing him for, I think, what was initially I think an 16 to 18 month deal, which included a Champions League campaign. So it would be the right thing for us to sort of bring him in. I do take a point when some people would say that he wasn't exactly at his best when we got knocked out of the Europa League by Sporting Lisbon. But, he wasn't really one of the only players who had a bad game that day. And I just think that at the beginning of the season, with his experience and nows, he'd be the right person to play alongside Rice, because I really can't see anyone else who could perform that role. Unless, of course, you want to go completely, ape and play Zinchenko alongside Rice and have Kiwior at left back. No, thank you. That would be even more poisonous.
Yeah.
And so, with the conundrum that Martinelli will be unfit, it's as if we've literally got to try to bite a bullet and end up starting Bukayo Saka in this game. So it would be Saka on the right and Trossard on the left, and maybe Odegaard in the middle. But there's also a part of me that thinks that, for the way that Fabi Vieira has played, why can't we at least start him for an hour and then, bring Saka on? But then when you take a look at how he's not the most physically imposing, I think that might be a risk. So I'd start Saka, but replace him with Fabi Vieira on the hour mark to make sure that he gets some adequate minutes. And then you got Gabby Jesus up front, the striker who seems to have gotten something like his mojo back. I think that would be the optimal starting lineup. If you have a 4-3-3, you could certainly end up with Rice and Odegaard and, if not Fabi Vieira, then
or Jorginho.
It could be. But I don't want to see Havertz near that starting lineup, although I have a sneaky feeling in the pit of my stomach that he could end up starting tomorrow for the very reason that I say Jorginho should be starting. And that will scare me, MK, because if he couldn't cut the mustard against these nondescript teams in comparison in the Premier League, against PSV, who ripped Rangers to shreds, I'm sorry to say that, but I have to mention that, I worry.
Yeah, I do as well. Obviously, PSV, they're no mugs. Let's be real on that. They are no mugs, and we should be winning these games. And I was listening to a podcast. Shout out the Invincible podcast. Lee Gunner, Lee Judges, sorry, not Lee Gunner, is a part of that one. And he said he seemed to say that look, if we win now 3 home games, so there's 3 home games, 3 away games in this group, right? So if we win our 3 home games, and let's say we win 1 away game and maybe draw the other 2. That is a complete place in the Champions League round of 16. That's good enough for me. As long as we get our home games with a win. Tomorrow, I expect to win. Against Seville at home, I expect to win. The same with Lens, I expect to win at home. Possibly with Lens away from home, I do expect that victory. Seville, it's always a tough place to go. Everyone knows that. Every English club goes there. It is a tough place to go. So I would probably expect to draw, possibly a win out of that one. Same with PSV. So if we do go in tomorrow and if we do change it about a bit too much, I'll be very annoyed with Mikel. I think we need to keep it as in it's not the Europa League now. No changing the squad around dramatically. Let's keep our strongest lineup on. I know we've got Tottenham on Sunday, but let's just focus on this. We need to get the 3 points on the board because otherwise, going into that game against Spurs, the mentality won't be the same if we lose, or even if we draw. I think the formation that you said was fantastic. I think the 4-2-3-1 is perfect formation for us to use. Not that I think Mikel will use it, though. I think he's going to try and, as you say, sneak Havertz into the middle as well, possibly using it as he's got Champions League experience. Well, in my opinion, Jorginho is perfect for this game. If we play the 2 holding midfielders, Rice, like you said, he hasn't sprung the world, like he hasn't come in here and sprung the whole league alight for us. No, but he's done his job. He's shown those leadership qualities. He's shown that he can be a real player in this squad. And where he might not have, he's willing to learn as well. He's young and he's willing to learn. You saw, like I'm just obsessed with watching the way he plays at the moment, watching him against Everton, the way he's there, the way he gets back into his position, he covers for other players, he sorts himself out well. And I think he's the captain without the armband in many ways. And I know that's early on to say, but that's just what I've seen from him when he was at West Ham as well. There's no down on me saying that he's probably going to be the future captain, because that's a credit to him. He's sprung in here and he's done his job. It feels like he's probably here longer than actually he is at the moment. So it does feel like we've had him for a while. But predictions, I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to start off.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with a 2-1 win because I think, look, I take a look at PSV and their last 2 games in the Eredivisie, they've actually won by 4-0 scorelines. They beat RKC Waalwijk 4-0 on their home turf, and back on their home ground, they also creamed NEC Breda by that same 4-0 scoreline. They've got Luke de Jong, they've got Saibari, that guy who normally plays as the number 10 in that 4-2-3-1 formation, and they look absolutely really frightening. And the reason why I say that we should play the 4-2-3-1, I realize that if they play that 4-2-3-1, they could, in theory, cancel us out. But I'm a little bit worried about what would happen if we use the 4-3-3, because when you don't really pack the midfield that much, you're asking for people to double team you. And the biggest problems that we have with, Saka and Martinelli, the reason why they get, injured so often is because players simply come at them really hard and double team them a great deal. And it happened to Saka against Everton on Sunday. So that just doesn't really sit well with me in many ways. And I'm just watching on the telly right now. PSG and Dortmund are about to play, but I think we will end the stream anyway before kickoff, or at least a little bit afterwards. So it doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, so just taking a look at the team in question, as I said, they do play the 4-2-3-1 formation. Ismail Sabari is the guy I'm talking about. He obviously born in Spain, but he represents the Moroccan national team. I don't think he was a member of the Moroccan squad that went all the way to the semi-finals in Qatar, but obviously I think he has been called up since, and you think he will play a big role in the team going forward. 24 years old. Another player to watch out for is Patrick Van Aanholt, the former Crystal Palace defender, who is, of course, on loan from Galatasaray. And they've got, as I said, Johan Bakayoko from Belgium, Ricardo Pepi from the USA, Serginho Dest, of course, on loan from Barcelona, also played for AC Milan and a full American international, and Walter Benitez of Argentina, who has been called up to the Albi Celeste team in recent games. So listen, they're not going to be a very tough team. I get that without Saibari they will be a little bit weaker, but in the midfield. But I'm pretty certain that whatever fielders they have, they should be able to fill in the gap very well. Look out as well for.
Well-known. That's the thing with these guys. PSV are, even though they were in Europa League last year, they are well known for being a Champions League side. Let's be real on that. They are a Champions
League.
They are a tough team, and despite it kills me to say it because obviously my dad, Rangers fan, they absolutely demolished Rangers. Let's be real on that. They absolutely put them absolutely elsewhere. They demolished them. They literally ripped another bit out of Rangers. Let's be real on that. But with us, we can't take them lightly. And I know I said 2-0. That's just what I expect with my club. I want us to get off to the best possible start in the Champions League. But it is going to be tough. And if we can break this team down and get a victory, then it's good enough for me, and it'll be good enough for both of us. But
I agree. And what the judge said was absolutely correct. We did that also in the Europa League. I believe we won our home games and got the results we needed away from home to make sure we qualified top of the group. But the problem is, it didn't do us much good because of our loss to Sporting Lisbon. But, with the Champions League, I would say that qualifying would be, I wouldn't necessarily say the bare minimum, but it would be nice to see how far we could potentially go. What would really anger me is that if heaven forbid, we fail to qualify, some of these top gooners would see it fit to say, not a problem. We're just grateful to have been a part of it, and we've got bigger fish to fry anyway. Anyone who says that seriously needs a good knock on the head.
I'm not even going to lie to you, Manny. I know that it's probably very difficult to see us winning it, but in my expectation, I want at least minimum quarterfinals. And I don't want to face Bayern Munich in that quarterfinal. I don't want a horror in the quarterfinal.
Especially with a certain Mr. Kane playing for them, he will be determined to, put us to the sword.
The last time I saw my club in Champions League, we were getting battered against Bayern Munich home and away. 5-1. So it is nerve-wracking. But we are going to end it there, guys, as I do have to get offline as it is going to start being thunderstorms again. So I do not want to lose connection before that starts. Obviously, Gary Neville, absolute nutter, spreading them storms everywhere. But Manny, if you'd like to shout out your stuff.
First of all, big up to you, MK. Thanks a lot for having me on, as always. Always a pleasure to come on and chat, talk shop with you. And sorry again for being a little bit late. And they've just kicked off at the Parc des Princes. I believe PSG are in their all-black strip, and they look to be attacking from left to... actually, it's Dortmund who are attacking from left to right, whatever. But... you can catch me over here on AFC Talk Show TV. I always try to come on whenever I can, and I will also hope to be on for the. If possible, I will try to make the North London Derby stream. But if scheduling dictates otherwise, I hope you and Deji and company have a really good time with it. Catch me on a few other channels. Del Boy Gunner TV. I will be a part of the call-in show after the Arsenal PSV game. Danny AFC TV, you can catch me doing a watch along with my mate Danny tomorrow evening, of course. Also, Oris Talks Football, Coach's Corner with Hannah Trollope, Tony Claude Gunner TV, Up the Cherries in all departments, the Bournemouth fan channel. Look out for our cherry picking series with that channel, which will be coming out on Friday. But on Thursday evening, we normally do the recording and we upload it the next day. And also Villa TV, several other channels. Tomorrow, I will also be doing an NLD stream with Eugen from Eugen Spurs Asia TV channel, and big up to him as well. He's a Tottenham supporter, but you know, he and I get along like a house on fire. Really good bloke, and it's good to be a part of his streams as more of the pragmatic Arsenal fan, if you will. There are several other streams of which I've been a part over the years. I can't really, name them. I mean, over the years, over the months, I would say, and I can't really think of them at the moment. But they're all really, really, important to me, and I always make sure that I, say that. But I always also want to say that the most important thing when it comes to being on these streams is that we respect one another and we have proper discussions. If we can't learn to agree to disagree without being disagreeable, there's no point in having a discussion. So let's keep things respectful, avoid some ridiculous unnecessary banter, and just treat others the way we'd like to have others treat us. It's as simple as that. It's a universal creed that is applied everywhere in life. And nothing much else to say. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the Champions League football. Enjoy the rugby from France if you're a big fan of that. Swing low, sweet chariot. Enjoy the. I think the 100 is still going on in England, but the Cricket World Cup will be taking place next month. And there's a lot more to come. Apart from the sports, just have a good rest of your week. Do whatever you all need to do to get about your day. Stay safe and be happy. Stay safe, especially in the rain. Don't get yourselves too wet. Don't do anything that MK and I wouldn't do. For now, though, I need to get back to watching the telly. Cheers, everyone.
Absolute legend. Thank you so much, Manny. Absolute legend. Well, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to AFC Talk Show TV. It is free and we appreciate it as much as it goes. Thank you very much. Please like, and of course, we'll be back in a couple of days for the North London Derby preview. Let's go. See you guys in a bit. See you later.